Hi, let's overview another really important FinOps notions, and this time it will be tagging. Let's dive in. So first, in AWS, tagging is the act of assigning metadata to the different resources in your AWS environment for a variety of purposes, such as attribute-based access control, or ABAC, cloud financial management, and also automation, like patching selected tagged instances. Tagging can also be used to create new resource constructs for visibility or control, such as grouping together resources that make up a microservice, application, or workload. So a tag is a key value pair applied to a resource to hold metadata about that resource, and each tag is a label consisting of a key and an optional value. So let's take some example here. First of user-defined tags key and values. So you have your EC2 instance here with an instance ID. And then you can say, I want to add a tag here, which will be a cost center tag. The key will be cost center. And you can also add an optional value here, which will be this number here. And you can add another tag with a key stack and a value test. For your second instance ID, you can choose to put exactly the same cost center tag key and value, and choose for stack another text, which will be here production. Then AWS is also generating tags for your resources, such as CloudFormation stack name, which will identify the AWS CloudFormation stack that created the resource, but also Elastic Beanstalk environment name, which will identify the application that created the resource. When defining a tagging dictionary, it is also important to differentiate mandatory and discretionary tags. So first, mandatory tags are the set of tags that every resource should have, regardless of its purpose. These tags will enable you to identify the necessary metadata to identify the resource. Recommended mandatory tags are, for example, owner, business unit ID, environment, cost center, or data classification. You can retrieve some of them into the example. So let's say that a business ID will be the business unit for the resource, and some example of values will be finance, retail, or DevOps here. On the contrary, discretionary tags are the set of tags that must be defined as part of your tagging strategy, so they are available to be assigned to resources that need them. So they will not be assigned to all of your resources. For example, temporary elevation of permissions or data sensitivity. Recommended discretionary tags are workload ID, compliance, version, workload tier, backup, SLA, or lifespan. So for example, you can retrieve here the compliance tag, which will be effective if the resource is subject to any compliance requirement. Defining a tagging strategy is fundamental for your enterprise level visibility and also control. So first you will define here a tagging strategy. So you will define the mandatory tags, but also the dictionary, policies, and standards. Okay. Then you will create into the management account the tag policies, and you will attach them to the relevant organizational units or OU and accounts to generate the compliance reports. This is an example of a tag policy here. So in this example, you will put the tags owner with the tag key, let's say owner here, and possible tag values, which will be here security lead, SecOps, or DevTeam1. And you will enforce the tag on all services here. Then you can use here the AWS Systems Manager. It can help you tag resources through automations across your AWS environment. And to finish, you can create a dashboard here, a tagging dashboard that will display the metadata assigned to your resources and also act as a remediation mechanism. On AWS, you can also use two different services, resource groups and tag editor. So by default, the AWS Management Console is organized by AWS service, but with resource groups, you can create a custom console that organizes and consolidates information based on criteria specified in tags. So resource groups allow you to easily create, maintain, and view a collection of resources that share common tags. And also with Tag Editor, you can easily find untagged resources from a specific tag. So you can find resource to tag here, select your region, select your services, and let's say select your tag here, which will be call center here, with the value here, which will be not tagged here. And then you click on search resources and you can see that here I have more than 400 results that you can export directly to a CSV file. But I could also directly add tags to them on up to 500 resources at the same time. So if you select your resources here, then you can apply tags. Here I selected 200 resources and I'm adding a cost center tag with a value 33 on all of them. If you are using Terraform, then you can easily add a tag to all resources of your code or projects by adding them at the provider level. So when you are in your provider.tf file, then you can retrieve here your provider AWS, and you can add default tags with a list of your tags here, let's say cost center and 33 here. You can also add a tag to a resource directly to override also existing tagging. So here in my S3 bucket, you can put a name here and you can directly add a tag. Let's say cost center equals to 33 and it will override the tag from the provider. With your tags, you can now allocate AWS cost, and this is a crucial practice for managing and optimizing your cloud expenditure. You have many benefits by doing that, including cost transparency, budget management, compliance, governance, and also showback and chargeback. So from the root account, you can go directly into cost allocation tag services, and you can activate here if you click on one of them here. If it says inactive, you can activate the user-defined tags that you are using. Then AWS will generate a cost allocation report, which is a CSV file, with your usage and cost grouped by your active tags. So this is an example here. You can retrieve here your different costs by line. And for each resource, you will get tags. So user owner here, but also stack, cost center, or application, for example. And finally, you can also use these new activated tags to filter views in Cost Explorer. You can get your user-defined cost center here and select your tag values. After you have implemented a tagging strategy, it's really important to measure its effectiveness. So to do that, you can retrieve your tag coverage here with first Cost Explorer. Also, you can query the cost and usage report or the curve with Athena. You can visit here the curve library from AWS. Here is the query for getting the tag coverage. So you just change here your table name and the date filter here, and you can get here the percentage tagged. And you can also retrieve here the allocated spend. So it's really important for FinOps practitioners. So let's say you are in a crawl position, then more than 50% of your spend will be allocated. If you are in the work, then 80% of your cost will be allocated. And if you are in the final position, run, then 90% of your spend will be allocated to a tag.